This is CWTFB Radio. I am your host, Charlie MaSheen, always sponsored by Details Car Audio and Auto Detailing right on 925 Turnpike Street in Canton, Mass. That's right on Route 138, man. Run up in there for all your detailing needs, interior, exterior, clay waxes, audio needs, car accessories, truck accessories, motorcycle accessories. Series on some wild shit right now. My old man in there, man, he ain't too friendly, but if you let him know that Charlie sent you, man, he's going to take care of you looking clean, fresh, laced, and all of the above. If you need remote starters, we got that as well, man.
It's cold out there.
Yeah, we need that. It's 10 degrees on Friday, which is tomorrow. Today is Thursday, January 28th. I got my right-hand man, KASH.
What's good, African?
KASH.
No money, though. It's all borrowed from him. He got it.
I ain't got no money, man. I ain't got no money, man. I ain't got no money because you know why?
What, baby?
GameStop. GameStop violated.
What you mean? Nah, the way I see they violated in a way like I can explain it is like robbing a dice game. It's like,
okay.
It's like they brought the dice. You was killing them over the head. Bang, 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 bang. And then they was just like, give me this money, give me the dice. And they just left.
Yeah.
95% of that time, that dice game, that man don't make it out.
At all.
Spinal injuries, he's in a wheelchair, he dead. Other than that, Robin Hood could pull it off because it's a white collar crime type. You know, but I'm not mad because people get knowledge too. That's what I also meant. On the other side, like, people get game. Like, look at everybody talking about stocks, bro.
You know what got me high about that, man? Because it's like, you know, they say the market is free until white men start losing money. They're like, damn,
hemorrhaging money, bro.
It was like, yeah, it's a free market. You know what I mean? Everybody can eat. You know?
Yeah, download the app.
Jamal, Joffrey, everybody can eat. But then they're like, whoa,
hold up,
Clinton is losing.
Hold up,
slow the fuck up.
And that's what it was.
The Saxons are losing, so the Africans gotta lose. So you know what I mean? So I ain't like that, but you know what I mean. But other than that, man, how's your week been, man?
Been good, man. Been chilling, baby. You know, going through this, seeing people who was like anti-vaccine.
Yeah.
They was like, yo, I ain't doing no vaccine. You crazy. How dare you get the vaccine?
You gonna get the vaccine?
I mean, if it becomes mandatory to me somehow, I mean, other than that, I mean, no, I'm not really for it. How about you, bro?
I'm not with the vaccine.
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, I feel like I had the virus already. I can't be sure.
You always say
that.
But
I felt like I had it.
You think you wanted?
I remember last January.
A symptoms.
Let's just stop, bro. Like, we did this last week. We're not doing this again. But last January 2020, I had a chronic cough. I don't know if you remember this. I was coughing for like a month and a half, bro.
You also smoked cigarettes for 13 years and a half.
But you know what's funny? I stopped smoking cigarettes when I had that cough. Just to see if it was the cigarettes.
You think it was the bug?
I stopped smoking.
You had any of those, like, what they say happens to you? You can't smell, you can't taste.
I didn't have no symptoms like that.
But
I had a chronic cough. I had no other symptoms, but I would not stop coughing, bro.
I believe you probably had it, my guy.
And then, you know, we heard about the Wuhan joint, so, you know what I mean? But whatever. Either way, I feel like I'm immune. I mean, especially, you know, whatever.
You
know what I want to address?
What?
No, you was going to say that. What was you going to say?
No, it wasn't important.
I wanted to address that thing that happened in Harlem, man. You seen that lady that get attacked by those little hood niggas at a corner store, a liquor store. She walked into a liquor store. She was buying some wine. Dude offered to buy it. She said, "Nah, I'm straight." She tries to leave. They whoop her ass, bro. They whoop her ass. And the reason why I want to address it is because we always talk about, you know, white on black crimes and things of that nature, man. But like, who's gonna protect the black women when it's not us, nigga? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to do that. We got to do that.
And it's ongoing, because it's crazy you say that, because I was going to bring up the football player, the white boy.
Right. Well, I mean, he's white, so we expect that from white men. We don't expect anything better. I don't think black women should be dating white men anyway, but that's just me. I mean, you know how I get down. You know that's just me. Like, I don't, no, chiz, whatever, nigga.
Buttons for that?
Yeah, fuck them niggas.
I mean, look.
Don't look at all women.
At the end of the day, like, I mean, I hope he
This nigga said, "Oh, you still alive?" Right.
I hope she got siblings who gun tote Blow
I hope he gets whatever the hell's coming to him, right?
Bury that, bro.
Like even after whatever. But
we know he's not getting locked up. Football.
One more thing I want to talk about now. No sports.
No sports today?
No sports.
Tom Brady's in Super Bowl.
No sports. But I want to share a story with y'all. Also, I seen something on Breakfast Club. You know, Charlemagne. You know, I love Charlemagne. I'm at work. You know where I work at. I'm in the car business. I'm at my desk, and my desk is right next to the service area. Little white girl, you know what I mean? Whatever. She on the phone. Somebody's calling her, and it sounds like somebody's trying to talk her into going to a funeral, right? From what I can hear. And she says, I'm not going to the funeral. I don't care if he's my cousin, right? And I'm like, all right, so now it's getting spicy. So now I'm listening. Now I got the satellites.
Now you there for no reason.
Now I'm like, all right. So now I'm over here like,
yeah. You ain't typing nothing.
I ain't typing a damn thing. I probably typed my name like 8 times, bro. Right?
No, and then when you gotta look at the keyboard, but you got the eyes
like,
up,
right. And then she goes, look, I don't care if he's my cousin. He raped me when I was little, and y'all tried to make it seem like I was wilding for saying something about it, and he deserves to die.
I'm assuming what happened is what just happened in the room. That complete silence.
Bro, she was the only one sitting in service. I mean, as you can tell, it's COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sitting right there, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay. Now.
Yeah.
I agree with that sentiment. I agree with her wholeheartedly. If somebody did something that traumatizing to anybody, I don't say that they deserve to die because we can't ever make that call. But in that case, yeah, he deserves to die.
I like that.
But
we can't say that.
So I seen.
Don't edit that. Leave that.
Nah, we leaving that in.
Right,
I seen something on Breakfast Club maybe like a day later. Whereas Piers Morgan, you know Piers Morgan on CNN?
Sure.
Piers Morgan, R.I.P. the late great Larry King.
Oh yeah, okay.
One of the motherfucking best ever at interviewing. Shout out to Larry King, man. I grew up on you, dog. You was old when I was born, so like it was
old. You know Morgan Freeman old.
Word. But anyway, Piers Morgan goes on Twitter. And he tweets, hold on, I'll read it verbatim because I have it in here. He goes, where's it at? What's the Larry King joint? I had it in here. This is why editing is lit.
I never, Piers Morgan, heard the name.
I might have deleted it. Well, either way, I'm a paraphrase it.
Yeah.
Piers Morgan says, Larry King was a hero of mine until I took his spot at CNN and we had a falling out. He said something about me being something like a mother-in-law. And he's like, he got married 8 times. So he's a mother-in-law expert, right? But nonetheless, he was a great broadcaster and a legend, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, Charlemagne brought it up. He was asking Envy, does beef last beyond a death? And it reminded me of like old girl in the waiting room because it's like, you know, that beef was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Piers Morgan and Larry King, it's not the same type of beef.
Yeah.
But if you had beef with somebody,
yeah,
would you let it go? But like if they died, would you sprinkle some salt on their name after they died?
I mean, yeah, man. I guess, you know, naturally, it's like, yeah, they died, but man, we didn't. I mean,
we ain't like that nigga anyway.
Yeah, I mean, right. Like, I still got that, you said his name, I got that, he's dead? That sucks, but, yeah. I guess I wouldn't rub salt in it, like, I'd probably clown, yeah, we smoking on that mulligan pack.
Yeah, that mulligan pack, right? Word, niggas is lit off that mulligan.
I mean, it's just like, you know, it's not no real shit, you know, but, like, I don't ever think anybody deserves to die. Like,
right.
Do fuck shit. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And I think acts of violence should be brought upon them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like real acts of violence where they want to die themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? But to say somebody deserves to die, it's a little much for me.
It's a stretch.
A little much. I mean, we said a lot of shit, but that's a little much. Right? Deserve to die?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, word. You know, don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I love Larry King, but fuck Mulligan, anybody who loves him.
Like
but we gonna bring our
rolling.
guest in this week.
Yeah,
we have somebody. We're gonna take, first off, full disclaimer. This is not an artist, right? This is not a R&B artist. I don't know if she can sing. I don't know if she has any talent at all. She can rap. You know what I'm saying? But, we come from the same type of place. And people like this should be revered, and people like this should be honored because they want to actually take control of their community.
They want to do something.
They want to make a difference. And not a difference like us where we come up here and we just talk shit every single week. I'm talking about people who actually want to, be in the front lines, shake hands, kiss babies, literally. Actually steer, generational curses away from what the norm was and create new traditions, foundations, and things that we're always going to keep building off from generations to come, man. So this is somebody who's near and dear to me, you know what I mean? Because, we have a mutual person in our lives who's near and dear to us, and she's running for city council in my district that I live in. I live in West Roxbury, the west side. So everybody and anybody, put your hands together for Kendra Hicks. What's good, baby?
And I am an artist, just not a musical one.
Yeah.
Ooh,
What kind of artist?
I make installation art, actually.
What does that mean?
Installations, they're
Would you be like installing like
Letter?
BIOS or like Comcast?
wow. Installation art is like art that talks to the world around us. And so it's not like a painting or like a sculpture, but it's more like installed in the natural world, whether it be like on the street or on the sidewalk, but it's something that's more visible.
That's dope, man. How long you been doing that?
I did my first solo project 3 years ago. I actually have a 6-page spread in the only contemporary art magazine in the city on my art.
Really?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Real time.
Well, shout out to you, Kendra. I mean, let's clap it up for her. Let's clap it up for her. You know what I mean?
No gunshots.
So
gunshots for that,
technically, yes, I'm an artist.
Yeah,
I like
yes,
that.
Yes,
I
you're an
like
artist.
that.
You're an
That's
artist. So, Kendra, tell the people, for people who don't know who you are,
Yep.
let the people know who Kendra Hicks is, how you got here, and what made you want to run for City Council District 6. Hicks for District 6. By the way.
I have to thank my husband for the gift of that last name that rhymes with the
Absolutely.
district.
Right.
I always tell people the institution of marriage did one thing right.
Right.
So yeah, my name is Kendra. I'm running to represent District 6 in Boston City Council.
Okay.
Why did I decide to run? And so I grew up in District 6. District 6 is made up, for people that don't know, it's made up of Jamaica Plain and West Roxbury. Okay. But it also includes a little bit of Back of the Hill, and it includes Eggleston Square. Okay. Which is considered Roxbury. And so I grew up in Eggleston Square. I grew up on Boylston Street.
Oh. Gang.
How they connect those? That's crazy.
Actually, they're right next to each other. If you go
geographically,
geographically, they're next to each other.
Yeah, if you think about it. Bro.
If you go through the Jamaica Way and back through Faulkner Hospital, all of that is West Roxbury.
Yeah.
So it's right there. They're right next door to each other, and so
Google Earth shit.
And so it includes both of those neighborhoods, and it includes all the parks, it includes the Arboretum, it includes the train stations and everything. And so for me, when I decided to run, we have had the same city councilor for 10 years in the district. And I think a lot of the people in the district thought that he was like a progressive and that that we were being represented with people who, by people who had values that were the same as ours. But I think in the last few years, everybody kind of had like a collective reckoning. We were just like, oh no, actually, we were start paying more attention to the votes and kind of like looking and realizing that we really weren't being represented by somebody who really cared about what happened to the most vulnerable people in the district, in our community. Right. And so for me, I think that I saw an opportunity to really lead and serve the people of that district and the people who have been really forgotten about for so long. Some would say for the entire 10 years.
Right.
I think a lot of the things that people forget is that, District 6 includes West Roxbury, but it also includes Bromley and it includes South Street. And so there's a big kind of like racial and class divide in the district.
Huge.
It's people who come from all different parts of life. Right. And for a long time, we've only had, in the 40 plus years that this seat has existed in City Hall, we've only had one person from JP ever represent the district. It's always been somebody from West Roxbury.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and we've never had a black person or a person of color representing the district, right? In a neighborhood that includes Eggleston Square, that includes Bromley, that has the highest concentration of she in the city, right? Like nobody has ever.
Has there ever been a woman?
The person from JP who represented the district was a woman, yes. Okay. And she was also there in the seat for over 10 years, and she did a great job in the 90s. And I think that, to say that there's never been a person of color to represent a district in the city of Boston, right? In a city like Boston,
where there's mad black people,
where there's that it's unconscionable. Yeah. But also what you see is that people who come from different neighborhoods, they have a different vantage point. They had a certain life, which means that they have certain personal experience. Right. They know certain things.
Different networks.
They have different networks. And so I think that it's not just about whether or not somebody from West Roxbury can represent the district, is that a lot of people have, when I always tell people, I'm like, your viewpoint is just a view from your point, from wherever you're at. And so a lot of people just don't see a lot of the things that other people in the district are struggling with because it's just not their experience. Absolutely. And so we need to have somebody who does have that experience so that you can kind of like include all of those vantage points in the way that we do policy. Because City Council ultimately is the legislative body of the city. We make the laws for the city.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that just brings me all that was good. And I loved all that. But to be honest with you, I need politics 101. I need like ground level. So council person, right?
Yep.
What does that mean? What does that person do?
Great. So
that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because you know what I mean? Like, look, I donated to the campaign. You know what I'm saying? Can I say that?
Of course.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
I'll hold the sign on the sidewalk. I'll be seeing I'll do that.
Don't ever let me be a politician, right? Because I'll remind niggas for what I did for them. But, and I wish I had a southern accent to like, hey, girl, don't you forget about our little arrangement that we had. Now go on, girl. But anyway,
said every mayor of Detroit.
Oh, shit.
Detroit.
Not Detroit.
No, we're not bringing up
good
Detroit.
People in Detroit, not good leadership.
But that's a good question because I don't think a lot of people understand what a city council actually does. And within Boston, there's how many districts before you answer that question?
Yeah, so city council has 13 city council members. It has 4 at-large members, which means that they represent the entire city. And then it has 1 council person per each district, and there's 9.
Okay. All right. So 13 is the only one that rhymes with machine.
Okay.
Machine for District 13. Babe, listen to this.
There is no
My
District
wife is
13.
running. There's no District 13?
No, there's 13 city councilors.
Oh, man.
It only goes up to 9 district.
You don't really want to do this.
Nigga, shit.
You get assassinated. Bro, you get assassinated quick. Council person, they don't want you there, bro. They kick you out of there, bro.
All right. So Kendra, back to the original.
You be the lowest rank assassination of all.
I won't even have a funeral.
Oh my God.
You get a 3-gun salute.
There you go. They're going to cremate me in Mattapan Square.
Oh, no.
Hey, yo. All right, seriously.
No.
My question is dead serious because before you answer it again, I'd be in a room and everybody wants to talk politics, especially now, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's super interested and wants to talk about something that they don't know. So we all just throw around everything that Google tells us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
facts.
We don't have anybody directly. Well, I don't until now this opportunity. So that's why I'm taking this opportunity to ask you. You know, and that's the world. You know, so it's crazy.
Yeah, and so I think that is a really good question because a lot of people don't know how it works. Like a lot of people don't. A lot of people will say, hey, we elected this person and they're not doing X, Y, and Z, or they haven't done anything, but don't necessarily understand what the mechanics of it are, like what decision-making power the city council actually has.
Right.
And so Boston has a model, kind of like a leadership model, where it's called like a strong mayor model. And what strong mayor means is that the mayor has a lot of power. More power than the city council.
He's the king of the city.
And so, it's not like, the mayor has power and then the city council is elected and we share that power. The mayor has more power than the city council. The mayor drafts the budget, sends the city council the budget. So, I think that a budget is like a value statement. It says what we think is important. And so the city council, who's elected by the constituents of the city, really has no say in what's included in the budget. Or you either say it's the only vote that you have is whether you're passing the budget or you're saying no to the budget. Okay. And so there's not a lot of decision-making power there in like what the city is spending their money on because we have a strong mayor model. Yeah. But there are some city councils now who are basically working on redoing the city charter. And so the city charter is like the Constitution. So like how our country has a Constitution, the city of Boston has a Constitution, and it's called the city charter. Okay. And so even though we are elected and we are the legislative body, like we're the people who are making the laws in the city, we make laws following the city charter, which is the city constitution. And that is also, like most things, old as hell. Right, it needs to get updated. Yeah. And so
can't even read the writing.
And so it needs to get updated. There's a lot of work that needs to happen. And so city council, we have hearings. We can invite people to hearings, ask them for information, and pass laws based on the information that we get, based on what we hear from people. And we in addition to legislation, resolutions are also a thing. Resolutions are different than when you're making legislation because they don't really have any teeth. Like it's like, we're making a resolution to call this day Martin Luther King Day in the city of Boston, or to change it from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples' name. And so it kind of like changes it, but it's not really, it's just that a resolution is like the city is letting people know that they're supportive of this thing.
Like Black Lives Matter.
It's like a value statement. Exactly. Like just letting y'all know where we stand. So, and we do that also in collaboration with the state. And so there's parameters that we follow. That's the state law and what the state government is doing. And there are things that state legislator has to make decisions on. And so there's things that we have to punt to them. When we want to make decisions about the city, it has to escalate up. And so there's a lot of intricacies about how the decisions are made and how much
there's a lot of political slang.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you have questions about anything that I just said,
she threw some slang in there. I was like,
let's do you have
I can't break that down.
Look, for the people who understand what that means, y'all got that, right? Now, this is all right. So, we're predominantly a music podcast.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
And, coming from where we come from, I know music was probably a big part of your life.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
Huge.
Predominantly hip hop and R&B music, right? Do you see any correlations with that world, hip hop, R&B, and local politics?
Yeah, I see a lot of correlations. I think this is one of the things the story that I tell people about how I came into kind of like my political identity, like when I started learning about the issues of the world, was really through hip hop. Right. When I was somebody who grew up running the streets just like most people did in my neighborhood. And I was blessed to have a lot of mentors who, even though I was kind of like straddling the fence in terms of, which direction I was going to go, they saw something in me. And so they wanted to invest in me and they wanted to make sure that I was going in the right direction. And so one of the ways that one of my mentors did that is that he gifted me this book, and it was called Can't Stop, Won't Stop, The History of the Hip Hop Generation. Right. And they gave me that book when I was probably 16. And so up at this time, I've always been super into hip hop. Like I was like really underground.
Who's your favorite rapper?
I was like a super purist. Oh man. My favorite rapper of all time. I wasn't ready for that question. I should have been ready for that.
Yeah,
I should have came ready with that. That's a real
Give her
one.
time. Give her time.
Yeah.
Let her circle back.
4, 3, 2. What? Damn.
That's hard. It's a hard question. There's a lot to consider when making that decision. But in any case,
that's a hard question to answer.
I'll answer before I leave. I got to think about it a little bit. This is why though it's hard for me around rap, because when I started really listening to hip hop, I was like a purist. Like I was like everything underground, everything, you know what I mean?
Boom, bap.
That was it. I can recite Nas's albums front to back. Like I thought that that was my thing. Yeah. I don't believe that anymore. I don't think that there's no such thing as like purity when it comes to hip hop.
Nas's first album is the Bible.
That's
Bible.
That's another argument.
That is an argument that we can have, but I think that because hip hop is a tool that's been used by Black and brown people to tell the story of their struggle, I don't think that anybody can dictate how anybody tells their story. So whether or not it has, you know, a trap beat or a boom bap beat, or whether or not people are saying this, or whether or not it's rhythmic, or whether or not it's like rap.
Right.
I don't think that people have the right to kind of dictate rap. How people tell their story, because that's ultimately what hip hop was created for. It was for people to tell their story about how they came up in their life.
But I ain't gotta like it.
No, you don't gotta listen to it. That's different. That's your taste. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta have the taste for that kind of music, but I don't knock anybody who does anything. That's their way.
That's fair.
But ultimately, up until I was maybe like a junior in high school, I thought I was gonna go to school to be a music producer.
Wow. That's interesting.
That's all. I studied it. I followed producers. All I listened to was J Dilla. I can tell you a beat, recognize it. Like I was like, I was into it. I was like knee deep. I thought that I was gonna go to school and study audio engineering, and I was gonna be a producer.
Wow.
That's what I thought I was gonna do. And so that's something to me that really politicized me, though, because when I read that book about how hip hop was born in the Bronx, it really talked about the social conditions, right? It talked about the political conditions in the neighborhood that made it so that people needed to create this in order to survive, to have an outlet, to do X, Y, and Z. And so then I was like, oh, okay, hold on, wait a second. The stuff that's happening here in Eggleston Square is happening everywhere.
Very synonymous to
exactly.
Places,
I'm like, this thing happens everywhere, meaning that it's not just my own personal experience, but it's a systemic experience of everybody because of what's been done to our neighborhoods, the resources that have or haven't been put into our neighborhoods, how our schools are, and, you know, like a million other things. And so for me, hip hop is really interconnected to politics in that way, because if you listen to it, it's telling you the problems. It's naming to you, it's giving to you it's giving you the mandate. These are the issues in our community. And if you're listening to it as a politician, you say, okay, this is what people are experiencing. Now, what can we do on this end, on the political end, to create policy and to create laws that create different conditions for other people? Right. So that maybe you're listening to rap 20 years from now and people are not rapping about the same stuff that they were rapping about in the 80s. Right? Like that's the goal. We want people to have different experiences and have different lives, better lives.
And it started before the 80s, man.
Yeah, of course.
What year did the message come out? Don't push us, cause we're close.
Late 70s.
That was 79.
Late 70s. Yeah. Late 70s.
It might have been early 80s, but that was one of the first like insights to the hood.
Yeah.
Like, from people from the hood, right?
Broken glass
message,
everywhere. You know what I mean? Like he was dead ass explaining it. So it's crazy when you break it down like that. And that just takes a different mind, I feel like, to think about it that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because we just think, I listen to rap and listen to gangster rap, and I love it. And I'm like, I love this shit. They killing each other. You know what I mean?
But why do you love it? But why do you love it, though? It's relatable. If you experience that life, or the people around you experience that life, then you feel like, oh, I can relate to this thing that people are saying. It's not necessarily because you want people in your neighborhood to be killing each other. Yeah, it's because it's telling a story. It's talking about things that you can relate to. And so I think that a lot of people get it messed up when we talk about hip hop in that way, because they're just like, how can you listen to that music? But they don't understand that the birth of the genre was really an outlet, an artistic outlet, and a creation of people's pain, struggle. And so therefore, all of the lyrics are going to be about that thing. And they've remained that way since the inception, since hip hop's inception. Right. And so we got to look at it from that way. It's like, if you don't want people to rap about that kind of stuff, then we should do some work so that people don't live those kind of lives.
She killed that shit.
Yeah. Like that shit.
Damn.
So before you were Kendra Hicks, you were Kendra...
Lara.
Yeah. Lara.
Oh, yeah.
Dominican Heritage.
Yes.
When you were a child, you were in JP.
Yeah.
Aren't they all? No, I'm just... just where I love my Dominicans in JP, but they probably getting shipped out. Rent's probably going up.
I was actually born in the Bronx, though.
BX. Wow.
Yeah.
How charmingly stereotypical.
Very stereotypical.
You live on stereotypes.
Right. Yeah, it is. That's very stereotypical. Very stereotypical. My family was like, no, big city, a little bit too dangerous. They thought that Boston was like a suburb. You know, they thought it was safer than the Bronx.
Yeah.
But we moved here in '89, and it wasn't.
It wasn't. Those God times.
Right. Right.
So some of my family moved to New Bedford. They came to Boston. They were like, oh, no, this is not actually any better than the Bronx.
Right.
And then they left to New Bedford. And a lot of my family has been in New Bedford for like 20 plus years.
Okay.
But my siblings, my family, and I, we stayed in JP.
Right.
JP.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, back to the correlations with you know, music, before we move on. You know, your husband is a musician.
He is,
right?
Yeah.
He does rap.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like the type of music that, you know, he co-signs and creates is a direct depiction of what you want to do politically?
Is a depiction of what I want to do politically? No.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No, but I do. But I think, you know, based on what I said earlier, it's the things that I need to listen to in terms of like people's experiences.
Right.
But also I think I don't need to listen to it for people's experience because that was my experience. Like I don't need to, you know, I say this for people who are kind of like looking from the outside in.
Right.
The stuff that my husband rapped, my husband and I actually met in middle school.
Wow.
We met at the Curly.
That's amazing.
In JP.
That's cute, man.
That's fucking Curly. You ain't gonna clap for that, nigga?
Oh yeah, I was thinking we need like a cute drop. We need
Like
like
a
a
cute
violin drop.
We don't have that. We don't have that.
A heart
We're not
emojis.
doing that because that's for one episode, bro.
You
Stop
right.
it.
We have rappers up here.
Gang.
I know. You in gunshots, right? He's like, yo, how dare you? But no, that's dope.
We met when we were really young. And so my husband and I had a similar upbringing. You know what I mean? Like we grew up kind of like in the same thing. And so when I hear his music, we obviously, my husband is not living. I'm running for office. We're like professionals. Like he's not living that life.
Right.
But he's telling the story.
It's a depiction.
It's therapy for him.
Right.
It's a way for him to get the stuff that he's holding on to out.
Right.
And so I think that's not only necessary, not just for him, but it's necessary for other people to watch other people doing that.
Right.
But yeah, it's really different. It's really different than what I'm doing,
Right.
obviously. But I think that it's necessary for him and for other people to do that work of just being artists, creative.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect it. Let's talk about what's going on in the city. You got something?
Yeah. So election. When's the election on?
So there's a primary election in September,
Primary
and then
election in
there
September.
is the actual election in November.
So how many people running for your position right now?
It's just me and one other person right now.
Fuck that other guy.
It's a woman.
It's Mary. What's her last name?
Oh, you gonna drop her name?
Mary what?
Then I'm not gonna say F her.
Miss
Shout out
Mary Mack. No,
Mary. We just don't want you to win.
Mary what?
We
Mary
want.
Tamer.
We want. We
Mary
want.
Tamer.
We want. Kendra.
Stop. You know, look.
We want
You know,
somebody
look,
has
look.
to win.
Look.
They can't both win.
We can't both
stop.
win.
Yo, look. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, you
Come
gonna
on,
say something?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, can I you know what I mean? Can I
Go
do
ahead.
what I'm, you know what I'm saying?
All
What
right,
I'm
go
doing?
ahead. My bad. You
Nah,
right.
we
You right.
all
Nah, you
All
right. You
all
right.
right.
Go ahead.
Mary Tamer.
That's what you wanted to get off.
Yo, Mary Tamer, she live in West Roxbury, man. You know I'm from Roxbury, the West Side, but she don't represent what we represent. And look, I don't want to speak for Kendra. This is not what Kendra said. Like, this is me, Charlie MaSheen.
I appreciate that.
You know, your boy. You know what I mean? The voice of the city.
Put that disclaimer
Voice
out
of the
there.
city. The voice of the city. Mary Tamer can never speak for me. But I'm gonna tell you like this, right? The people who, you know, when you look at certain political campaigns and the people who are like gang about the police, right? Because gang is very that's a very appropriate word for the police because they're like some of the biggest gangs nationwide, right? You ain't gotta agree with me, right?
I like how you did
but,
that. Gunshots for that. Like, okay.
Yeah, you know my political views on the police. Everybody knows. If you listen to CWTFB radio, you know where we at with it. But what I'm saying is this. I live in West Roxbury. I see the racial divide. I see what's going on. And the reason why I connected with you about you running for city council is because I live in District 6, right? I'm in West Roxbury, and I have cops who are neighbors, and one specifically, no name, no blame, but you know, I know he ain't gonna watch this shit because he don't even like his blackness. He Puerto Rican, but he don't want to act like he Puerto Rican.
I know those.
When I first moved to the neighborhood, something happened, and it wasn't even like nothing crazy. There was a snowstorm, and I parked my car in front of his house. And he said, "Why are you parking your car in front of my house? The next time you do that, I'm gonna get it towed." And I said, "My man, this is before I had my parking permit for my building." And I said, "Yo, look, this is you know, the fuck
situation,
he's
bro.
Like, nah, this is residential. Why don't you park on that street over there?" You know what I mean? He's like, "Don't think because we're neighbors, I have to look out for you."
Damn.
I didn't do anything wrong but park my car. right? And that set the tone for our relationship. And I seen other things go down in West Roxbury. Like there was a vigil that there was like when the whole George Floyd died last year. There was a vigil in West Roxbury, and they had cops in riot gear and things of that nature, ready for the worst. They were boarding up fucking CVS's and Walgreens.
They were scared.
And local businesses. When in reality, it's like, dog, it was a vigil, a non-threatening, non-violent vigil. So that culture, being there and seeing what's going on, it's really disturbing and it's really frustrating for being a West Roxbury native now. Well, not native, but resident. What do you plan on doing for certain things like that? Like if you become city council, like how do you plan to steer that culture?
Yeah, I think that's a question that everybody has. I've had obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, so everything that's happening is virtual. But we're having like house parties or meet and greets where people from the district can come and talk to me, ask me questions. And every single one of them, everybody has the same question because everybody kind of like recognizes how different West Roxbury is from the rest of the district. The thing that I always like to tell people is that you don't want to paint your neighbors with a broad brush, right? You don't want to say like people like you live in West Roxbury. Right. You're not the only person like yourself that lives in West Roxbury. There's a lot of other people who feel the same way. If like there's one person who's willing to speak up, then that means that there's 25 other people.
I got some fucking to say.
That means that there's 25 other people who feel that way, who had a bad experience in West Roxbury. And so I don't want to paint the people of West Roxbury. I think that the idea and the vision that everybody else in the city has of West Roxbury is that there's like,
super racist.
They hate niggas. They don't
right?
like black people.
But I don't think that that's true. I think that there are some people like that, but I don't think that that's who the people of West Roxbury are. And I don't think that's how the people of West Roxbury want to be known. The thing that happens is that, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Right. So there's a lot of people who are very vocal about how they feel.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil. All right. My fault.
She got the political terms.
I like
on
that.
Drop,
that shit was good.
On the drop.
And so there's a lot of people who are kind of just like, they're louder than the other folks. But there's a lot of people in West Roxbury that I've met. I've had lots of gatherings, over a half a dozen, with people that are being hosted in West Roxbury. People are bringing their neighbors and they want to have a conversation about what we do about this. And so the thing that I always bring up is that there's a lot of work that we need to do in terms of like the things that we can do at City Hall, right? Like laws and policy that we can make at City Hall. Right. But a lot of the work that we need to do is just cultural work. Right. It's with our neighbors. Right. Like you actually have to have a conversation with the people who live next door to you. You have to build a relationship with the people who live next door to you so that you have some trust or at least some rapport to be able to have difficult conversations. Right. So that when you have different political views, it doesn't just completely tear apart your entire neighborhood because people are on opposite sides of the spectrum. Yeah. And I don't think there are some people who are ready to have those conversations. They say, yeah, I definitely want to talk to my neighbors who think differently than me, right? Yeah. Like even if we're not on the same page, we need to figure out how, you know what I mean? How to live together, how to stand together, how to be supportive of one another. Because I think that, like the story that you just outlined, where he's like, don't think that just because we're neighbors, I have to look out for you. I think that it like we should have that's the whole point.
Because you are my neighbor. You are.
You should absolutely.
Let me some sugar. I am your neighbor.
I think that we have to have a different posture towards our neighbors, even if they're different than us. And I think our posture towards our neighbors should be, you are my neighbor, I should look out for you, regardless of if we have different beliefs or not. And so I think that when you have experiences like that, what happens is that it turns you off to trying to build relationships. It closes the door, and now it's like harder for you to show up in other places to kind of like be in relationship with people. And so I think that the city is changing. West Roxbury is changing. And I think people are struggling to figure out how to navigate the fact that, there are more people of color here, or there are more renters here, or there are much more people who are progressive here. You know what I mean? It kind of turned into kind of like this close. And so people are just trying to figure out how to live together when we're across difference, and how to build community across difference. And because Boston is so segregated, most neighborhoods around the city, you're mostly around people who are like you, who either look like you or think the same as you. And I think that District 6 is a microcosm of the entire country, because we have really wealthy places in JP and in West Roxbury, and then we have housing developments like Bromley and like, you know what I mean? And so we have to figure out, if we can figure out in District 6 how to build community across difference with all those kind of peoples who have all these different opinions, then we can do it across the city. We can do it anywhere.
It might solve the nation's problems.
We might. I think that if we can do some examples of what that looks like here, then I think that we might be able to get ahead across the city. And I think that what that takes is leadership that's willing to have difficult discussions. And so for me, that's who I see myself as being. I don't think that the leadership that we have now was willing or has been willing in the past 10 years to kind of step into the hard conversations.
Right.
He's kind of been shying away from them, staying neutral, not having opinions in order to not offend one side or the other.
You hot.
That doesn't get us anywhere. You know what I mean? I think that if we're in conflict, then let's talk about the conflict. Let's figure it out. How do we get across to the other end of it? And so that's really what I'm committed to doing. It's not because I agree with everything that people have to say or because our politics are similar. It's because we don't have another option. We're living here together. We got to figure it out. So, let's one foot in front of the other and let's do it.
I like that. She's so well spoken.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? She's so well spoken.
She got a book with all these answers already. I don't think we came ready enough, bro.
Hey, yo,
she's
look,
like, this is it?
Right. She's like, yo, niggas ain't shit.
It's like, what?
I thought they had a fully loaded clip.
Niggas ain't come loaded or nothing.
Yeah, man. But
but this is dope because, I'm getting knowledge about, because I didn't know what City Council did. I didn't know what they contributed to. Yeah. I didn't know that any of it,
Let's take a quick break to pay some bills. Shout out to the official barber of CWTFB Radio, which is Express Cuts 10.18 on Instagram. Express Cuts 10.18. He knows who he is. Your number one supplier for mobile haircuts. He will pull up on you whether you're at work, whether you're at home, whether you're at your baby mama's crib, your side piece crib, your cousin crib, your mama, your daddy crib. It don't matter whose crib it is. He's going to come through. He's completely COVID certified. He's going to keep you looking clean, fresh. Details does that, right?
Yeah.
He's going to keep you looking good. Because look at my shit. My pop.
I got the scummy on
You
today.
heard?
It's a 10-day-old
Express
haircut.
Cuts. 10.18. Mobile service. Look him up on Instagram. Master Barber. You know what time it is. But back.
I have to say that being across from you and looking at the shape up in person is not as sharp as you say it is.
Yes. Are we recording? Yes. Gunshots. Is that the gunshot button?
Yeah.
Gunshot. Yes.
It's just
gunshot. Nigga, yes. That's what we need. You see that right there? Because he be feeling himself up here.
My lineup's not fresh.
That's why he makes.
It's okay.
You see how he makes sure all the lights point to him? All the best lighting is on him.
Do you got beef with my barber or something? Like,
no, I don't know your barber.
You brought up her opponent.
Maybe you're just overdue. Maybe it's been a week.
I just got a haircut yesterday.
You can also tell that he uses the sponge that they use to go like
that. Oh! Yeah, word. All right, word.
It's not even a sponge.
He's going to cut that part out.
No. Kendra, why?
No, this is it.
You told me to be myself.
This is fire.
Why are you screaming into the microphone?
Oh, my bad.
I'm so sorry.
No, this guy.
I was like, am I yelling?
He's mad at me.
Okay.
Wow. Like, wow. I didn't.
You'll do better next time. I believe in you.
I didn't know that you were going to do
the
this.
Tennis racket, to be honest. It's this joint.
You a funny nigga. You funny because you using that shit at the wedding.
It works though. It works for you.
I'm not trying to get in between you and paying your bills. People should
still
go see this dude.
It works for you. It's a good.
Maybe it's not him.
What you call it? What you call it?
It's my unapologetically black hair,
and it works because it makes them uncomfortable. That's what he's about.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean.
Those uncomfortable conversations you want to have, he needs
the nappy. He needs the nappy head for it.
I feel like I gotta be professional and still be a nigga at the same time.
No,
you know what I'm saying.
When we talk about you running for politics, that's not a bad idea, bro. Because you be straightforward. Look, we needed Donald Trump, right?
But
wait.
All right.
But wait, real quick. We needed Trump for little things like, because we've seen a lot more people who was closet racist and behind the doors hating.
Okay. I see.
Right?
I see what you mean.
That angle, just that angle.
I think. I want to add to that I think that certain people needed Donald Trump to have that. I don't think that black people needed Donald Trump to know that people were like. I think some of us already knew that was what was behind the curtain.
Yeah,
I think some people who want to be supportive, who are like, oh, they're just like, oh no, this is wrong. They needed Donald Trump so that they could see what was behind the curtain. I don't think everybody. I didn't need Donald Trump to see what was behind the curtain.
Because I've met some Trump supporters. You know what I mean? Who was close to us, and we was on some like. We was like, this is weird, and they're like,
man, I'm not mad at people for supporting Trump.
Neither am I.
I understand why certain people supported Trump, right? There was a lot of good reasons why they would support Trump, but as a whole, as a message, as the face of the nation, it is what it is, man. Like, and I see both sides, right? So I'm not going to get too deeply into that. Because this is the thing about CWTFB Radio. We don't get political, man.
Because we don't know nothing about politics.
We don't get political.
Well, politics, this is the thing. You don't have to know. Politics is not just what happens at City Hall.
Okay.
Everything in your life is political.
Right.
Fair enough.
Right.
Everything in your life is political. You're a black man, you wake up in the morning, your life is political. Mm-hmm. If you're a white man and you wake up in the morning, your life is political. Everybody, like, politics kind of like informs your entire life. And so you don't actually have to know what's happening at City Hall to care about politics, because politics like influence all. I mean, they influence all of your life, and so you do know a lot about politics. You know about your life. You know about the conditions in your neighborhood. You know that housing is not affordable. Right. You know that there's too much traffic. So you know that global warming is like this. That's all political stuff.
Let's talk about that housing. Right? Yeah. Does the city council have a hand in that?
Yes.
Like as far as like how affordable housing is.
Yeah.
Now, what do you plan on doing for affordable housing? Because Boston is crazy when it comes to rent. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that can't afford to live in Boston.
I didn't know
it's
that.
Pushing a lot of people of color outside of the city.
I mean, I knew that.
Well, yeah, you know that because you live outside of the city.
Right? Like, well,
yeah, that's a fact.
In my personal experience.
So what I'm saying is, it's like, how does your hand play in that? Like, as a city, say you were elected, how do you do something different about that?
So this is the thing with housing is that what you're seeing is a lot of development, right? Like there's construction happening all the time in Boston. So you're sitting here and you're like, wow, all this development is happening. So how come there's not any apartments? So this is the problem with housing in the city is that the budget, right, what we spend our money on comes from taxes.
Right.
So a big portion, like super majority, like 75% of our budget comes from this development and the taxes that we get from these things. And so the difficulty is kind of like the catch-22 of it is that we need to make money to fund the city. Right. And so our mayor, because we have a very strong mayor city, is kind of like in bed with developers.
Okay.
That's why there's so much development happening in the city.
Oh, that's why Marty was that
guy.
He's
just that's just
build.
I mean, the dude has like a $6 million war chest for like his political account. Like,
oh, he's lit.
He gets money from the police, from developers, from everything. They make
Marty
sure that he's
Walsh
all set.
Motherfucking Martin.
They make sure that he's all set.
Yeah.
I think the issue with that is that we're building all of this construction, but we have people who are homeless. The percentage of affordable housing in all of these new buildings is like below what it should be.
Wow.
Right? Like there's not enough affordable housing. And then when you have these income restricted units, which is I live in an income restricted unit, you have to go through a 9-month process.
Wow.
To just be considered for a lottery.
Wow.
And then when they pull your name for the lottery, you have to go to a longer process to get all your documentation. And when I'm talking about documentation, I mean, they go back like
Blood
2 years, your credit score.
Right.
They, and I have to do this every year. Every
we
time
want
I
the
sign
dirt
my
under
lease,
your fingernails, brother.
Every time I have to sign my lease, I have to recertify. They comb through my bank accounts, and if there is a deposit there that is not from my check, I need to get a letter from whoever sent me that money saying that they sent me that money and that they're not paying me and they're not paying me for anything, and that like I shouldn't expect more of this money. Like it's intense.
That's crazy.
You got to give like hair follicles.
That's what it's like.
And that
matter of fact, speaking of hair follicles, let's talk about how luxurious your hair looks.
Oh, thank you.
Looks good. Look at sis. Look at
the
her.
Dominican jeans.
Yeah, you heard.
But I say that because not only do we not have enough affordable units, the affordable units that we do have are completely inaccessible. Yeah. For somebody like me who knows how to navigate the system, Like there were moments where they were like, hey, we need this document from you, and you have 24 hours.
Bet. 5 minutes.
And if you don't get it to me in 24 hours, you're losing your spot on the list.
That's crazy.
Right? And I'd be like, 24 hours? Well, I'm at work all day.
Right.
And I'm like, at this point, I was like, I'm pregnant.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I literally was like, I have to write this letter.
Wow.
I have to get this other person to write this letter. I have to get it notarized.
Wow.
So I literally had like a friend who's a notary public drive to my office in Somerville.
Wow.
Notarize the letter that I wrote. Wow. And then drive me to the office where I needed to drop it off because they needed it in 24. Like that's the level of thing. People don't do that. Who's going to be able to do that? Who can do that? It's completely inaccessible.
My mom just found out how to FaceTime.
Shout out to you being resourceful.
Exactly. I'm like, I have to be resourceful. I know how to navigate it. But it's not accessible to everybody. It's just not. And there's not enough affordable housing. And so a lot of the issue with affordable housing is that we're not building like densely enough, right? And so zoning is basically like how you decide what gets built where. So like if there's an area that's like built for commercial zoning, you'll go down there and you'll see that it's just business. You'll see businesses there. Right. And if it's like a residential zoning, but zoning is like buildings that have multiple apartments in them or single family homes.
Right.
And so like a single family home will take up all of that space.
Wow.
But it'll only be a single family home.
Right.
And so what happens is that a lot of people who live in neighborhoods, when they're having like conversations around zoning, if they're being like, oh, we want to build a building here that has affordable housing in a neighborhood that has mostly single family homes, they'll say, no, we don't want that here. There's this thing called NIMBY, which means not in my backyard.
Wow.
And so people will show up to these meetings and they'll say that they don't want they don't want this level of density in their neighborhood.
Wow.
When really they're like, oh, these are affordable apartments. We know who's going to move in there.
Right.
We don't want those people in our backyard.
Right.
And so there's a lot of issues to navigate in terms of zoning. Something that Cambridge just did was that they did like an affordable housing zoning overlay for the entire city. And so there's stuff that we can do at City Hall to talk about zoning and to tackle zoning issues, to make sure that we're building that we're more dense in areas where there's like trains.
Right.
So like increasing the density in places where there's public transportation, and so that we're building more affordable housing. Okay. I think the thing that we're looking for is that we want a diverse ecosystem of housing options, right? So like if people want to live in an apartment, if you want to live in a single family home, if you want to live in a building, if you want to live in a co-housing, co-op, you know what I mean? That you have all of those options and that those options are affordable. I think that there's not anybody who you're going to talk to who will tell you that they haven't experienced some level of anxiety about where they're going to live.
Right.
You know, whether it be like, am I going to be able to find an apartment? If I'm going to go meet this landlord, they're going to rent to me. Am I going to be able to pay? Like, nobody should have, even if you own a house, it's not just renting. Even if you own a home, is something going to break?
Right.
How am I going to pay these taxes?
Right.
I need to clear these things out. Like, even when you own a home, there is an immense level of anxiety around having a roof over your head.
Right.
And that just shouldn't be the case. People should be able to say this is where they should feel confident about where they live. They should be confident that they should be confident that they're going to be able to stay where they live, and they should be confident that they're going to be able to afford that. And I think another thing that we can do to that end is that we need more protections for renters, because people are just getting evicted left and right. And the state didn't extend the eviction moratorium. The city did, but only for public housing. They didn't do it for other people. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
You should be paying everybody's rent, commercial or otherwise.
Right. Pay my rent.
Because small business
rent.
owners are also getting hit. Right?
I don't want to pay rent. You want to pay rent, Cash?
Hell no, nigga. I barely pay it, nigga.
If you got it, you should pay your rent.
I
ain't got it. I ain't fucking got it.
I'm making it happen. You understand? If you listening, I'm just getting by, my nigga. You should lower it a little bit.
I ain't fucking got it.
Word.
But you know what? People are moving. There's a lot of things that Boston is a college town. And so a lot of the people who are taking up the apartments here are people who are here in school and they're renting apartments. And so because of COVID, a lot of schools are remote.
Right.
So you're seeing that the rent is lowering because there's not like now the apartments are not being filled.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like the demand for it. But in any case, we're in the middle of a pandemic. One of the biggest economic downturns that we've seen in the entire country in years. People have at risk at getting sick and dying.
Right.
People are at risk. People's jobs are just gone. They've literally just like disappeared. Small businesses are closing left and right. And even all of the processes for getting a loan for a small business, they're like they're so difficult. They're completely not accessible that people haven't even been able to apply for them because they're like, I don't even know how to do that. And last week, for example, I've been doing small business walks. So I've been going to the main streets around the district and walking into all of the small businesses and introducing myself.
She in the streets.
We're in the middle of a pandemic, but I still have to campaign.
Word.
And so we're having these like small business listening sessions. So I said, you know what? Let me go introduce myself. Let me invite them personally, right? Because I want to hear about what's going on with small businesses. Small businesses are like the heartbeat of the neighborhoods.
Right.
The people who live in these neighborhoods, they open businesses, and sometimes that's just a pathway to wealth building for Black and brown families, especially in this district. Right. And most people are just like, I didn't get any help. Like, we haven't received anything. We have no idea how to fill out. We tried to do the PPP loans. It was too complicated. I couldn't understand how to do it. I didn't know if there was like a phone that I could call to like get support. So people were really feeling discouraged. They were like, we feel like we've been kind of just left out to dry. Right. And so there's a lot that we can do to also help renters and small business owners by making sure that at minimum rent is covered. I think we need to cancel rent nationally.
Facts.
Federally.
I like that.
I like that up, nigga.
I like
cancel
that.
Rent, nigga.
Hit all the buttons.
Nigga.
Hit all the buttons.
Yeah.
Cancel rent.
Yeah.
Kendra Hicks for the 6. Right?
Yeah.
You like that. I like that.
But it's not about just financial. It's that it's going to keep people are going to work and getting sick because we have not canceled rent. And people have bills to pay. We can keep people safe. You could literally be saving people's lives if you were just canceling people's rent. And if we have money for $1 trillion military budget, then we have money to send people money to pay their rent. We can cancel their rent. We can cancel people's student loans, and we can make sure that people can afford to stay at home, social distance, not get sick, not get their family members sick. And we, like the Black and brown community is getting hit hardest with COVID. We're dying at exorbitant rates. It's ridiculous. So we will be protecting people who are most vulnerable in our neighborhood. So I think it's just a decision that we need to make. And the city has the ability to act with a state loan. So even if the state doesn't, the city of Boston can still make decisions for the city of Boston. Right. And there's some things that we could be doing for them.
So I have a question that I want to talk about as far as like availability, accessibility, as far as like a city council goes, right? So you're a mother. Right, you have a 4-year-old son, right? Yeah. Zai, he in the building. Zai, what up, boy? None. He in the building. You know, how demanding is the job of being a city council, and how challenging would that be with you being a mother? Of course, yes, you have a husband who's very involved, and but at the same time, you know, nothing beats a mother's touch and a mother's grace, and how mothers do things. So, like, do you think that would be an obstacle for you for being a city council?
I mean, it's an obstacle right now. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people from our neighborhoods don't run for office is because it's completely inaccessible. Right. Running for office, just campaigning, is a full-time job. Right. And I can't afford to quit my full-time job to campaign. So right now I'm working 2 full-time jobs. Right. Yeah. So I'm like,
you're working 2 full-time jobs.
I'm working 2 full-time jobs.
Super
right now.
Dominican of you.
Very Dominican.
Shout out.
So I'm working 2 full-time jobs right now. Right. I'm waking up in the morning. I'm working my day job. I'm doing campaign work during my lunch hour. Wow. And then I'm working until 5 o'clock, and then I'm checking out, and I'm at meetings until 9.
Wow.
Right. Like, that's how my weekdays look. And then I spend weekends either doing small business walks, doing events on Zoom talking on the phone with people. Right. Like, that's kind of like how my days happen. I think for us, it's especially difficult because my son Zaire is autistic, and he is doing school virtually. And not only is he doing school virtually, he's also doing all of his speech therapy, all of his occupational therapy, and all of the other, everything on Zoom. Wow. And it's everything right now is falling on my husband, basically. I'm just like, wake up in the morning, I'm in front of the computer.
Shout out to him.
I get up, you know what I mean? I check up on people. Maybe sometimes we're eating takeout, and if you know me, for the people who are watching this and know me, I spend all of my time in the kitchen. Yeah. If I could cook 3 square meals a day, I could.
But ain't no more phone.
But there's just not. There's no time. There's no
bistec con coco.
There's no time. There's no time.
Ain't none of that.
And so I think that my family, I think that I've made a commitment to kind of serve and wanting to lead and like represent my people, but also my family takes a hit for that. And so when I decided to run, it had to be a family discussion of like, this is what this is going to look like. You're going to have to pick up more of the slack because my husband, obviously I've already been working full time and kind of like out of the house, and I do a million things all of the time. And so we had to have that real discussion. And so I think that when I get elected, hopefully.
When you get elected.
When I get elected, it's going to be similar difficulties.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the 9 to 5, right? It's sometimes weekends, sometimes evenings, sometimes this and that. And so I think that those are the choices that you make if you want to be a public servant.
Right.
And I hope that, in the future, my son sees those sacrifices and the sacrifices of my family as, the city is better for me. Right. And when he gets older, right? My school, I'm having a different experience and a better experience at school because our public schools are different because of the sacrifices that I made. Yeah. And so I think that, that's really what my hope is. But it's gonna be hard. It's hard now, and it's only gonna get harder.
It's the grind.
Yeah, that's how we're doing it.
I like it.
I want to ask you some either or questions before we close it out.
Yeah, let's do it.
You have any either ors? Because I got a couple.
Nah, I wasn't ready for that. You didn't prep me for.
So we all know.
This nigga don't care about me.
Well, we don't. Look, this is off the top.
Go ahead.
This is what we do. Freestyle.
Shoot,
baby.
saying?
Red cups and Republicans, right?
Oh,
nah, we ain't Republicans.
I'm actually a Republican.
Slow down.
How you know?
How do you know?
How you know?
It's like an STD. How do you know?
For real, you got tested to be a Republican? What's up? Your results came out? How much money you actually made?
Wow. That's how you know.
I gotta know.
That's how you know.
I got questions, man. Like, what's up?
Why does being Republican have to do with the testament of how much money that you
Because
made?
the way you laugh.
Oh no.
I'm a Republican. Okay.
I am currently being in, this is I don't know how I ended up here.
Now,
I'm being interviewed by a Republican who lives in West Roxbury now.
And I'm black. And I hate police.
I don't know how we got here.
I hate Mary Tamer.
You do not know her.
She's my neighbor. Fuck Mary Tamer.
Mary Tamer, if you're listening, that is not how I feel about you.
Shit. Look. Kendra's the only sober person here.
Right.
Oh, shit. This is usually red cups and rap. I'm just saying red cups and Republicans because it starts with an R. Okay. Let's just leave it at that.
You clearing it up for them.
Right? Let's just leave it at that.
Just be very clear.
Just leave it at that.
Who you worried about?
Let's just leave it at that. All right. Either or.
Great. Ready.
Democrat or Republican?
Neither.
Dunkin's or Starbucks?
Dunkin's.
Wow.
Come on.
In your face. This guy, bro. I swear.
Really?
I'm a Boston girl through and through. You can't tell me Starbucks.
Okay. All right.
He loves a strawberry refresher.
Okay.
Tell him.
I bet you do. I like the refreshers, but I'm not going to go with it over Dunkies. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yuca or mofongo?
Mofongo.
You don't like Juca fries?
I like Juca fries, but mofongo over everything. Mofongo has the pork in it. It has the garlic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flat iron or perm?
A flat iron. No perms. I'm all natural.
Wig or lace front? I don't know the difference. I don't even know the difference.
Wig or lace front? A lace front. Lace front looks better. I think it's a little bit more yeah, it's like more natural.
I don't know the difference.
A wig has kind of like a hard line sometimes.
A lace front is literally a lace front. It took me mad long to figure it out.
I think lace front. I've never worn either, but
okay.
Yeah.
Honda or Toyota?
Honda.
Very Dominican of you.
Very
That was
Dominican.
very
You did that for the stereo.
He's trying to prove himself right. He's trying to prove himself right.
Man. You're hilarious. This is funny.
Marty or Kim Janey?
Kim Janey.
Ooh.
Shout out to the Janey
Hell
family.
yeah,
Shout out to Najee. Shout out to Kamisha.
Good answer. Shout out to the Janey family, man. Shout out to the Janey family. Kendra.
Yes.
This was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I had a blast. I didn't think I was going to have this much fun talking to a politician.
Yeah. We was like, yo, how we going to spice this up?
Man.
You know what I mean? But nah,
You've never met a politician like me.
So what made you want to come here? Because you know how crazy we get with how we go about expressing ourselves. So what made you want to tap in with CWTFB Radio?
Well, first, I think that what politicians often miss out on is that they only go after the people who are like their typical voters.
Right.
They only talk to the people who are like the registered voters or the people that show up. And what happens is that they end up disenfranchising a bunch of people that could be supporters. And you're somebody who lives in my district.
Absolutely.
And you have a completely different audience than the typical audience that I would get if I'm having these events or being online. And so I think that it's our responsibility to speak to and listen to everyone, right? If we're going to be making decisions. And so I wanted to come here and talk to a different audience.
Right.
That's dope.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. I respect it. I'm definitely grateful for you popping up here, showing up.
And you'll vote for me.
And we will vote for you.
Oh, big time.
Look,
and your brother who also lives in West Roxbury.
Look.
Oh, shit. Damn.
Your whole family.
Get this, Kendra. Don't you ever forget what I did for you. I donated. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here. Gang. You know what
He
I'm
donated, brought me
You know
on
what
the
I
show,
mean?
and promised his vote.
Nigga, shit. We voting twice if I could.
Uh-huh.
You know what? You know what your next job is?
We know scammers.
We could have to talk
stuff
to your
that
cop
box.
neighbor. You talk to your cop neighbor who told
Nah, I'm
you
not
that he
talking
couldn't
to
look
that
up.
Nah, we're not talking to that guy.
You go to him and you say, "Hey, man,
You got
a
any
friend of mine is
stickers?
running for office.
You got any stickers?
I don't have stickers. No.
I'd put it all over his patrol car.
Don't do that.
Is that defacing government
That
property?
is absolutely defacing government property. It is illegal, and you should absolutely not do that.
And then you're going to put her sticker on
and
there?
not my sticker on it. You can put your own sticker on it.
Put
Don't send me to
CWTFB
jail.
on there.
I didn't do
He'll
anything
track
to you.
that shit down.
Did I do something to you? That man is minding his business. Don't put this. Listen.
You know, it wouldn't be the worst thing I've ever done.
No, it wouldn't.
Absolutely not.
We'll talk.
Maybe he was having a bad day. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he was having a bad day.
I guess.
But all right, so tell the people how to vote, how to get involved, how to voice, give themselves a voice.
Yes.
And get Kendra Hicks for District 6. Pop it. You heard?
You register to vote if you're not registered. Find out what district you live in.
Yep.
You can do it on the government website. Put in your little address. It'll tell you where you live, who your representative are, so you can see what district you live in. If you're not registered to vote, register to vote, because you can't vote for me if you're not registered to vote. The other thing is that the primary election is in September. Yep. The general election is in November. So get ready to do that. You can give to the campaign by donating. You can go on our website. It's Hicks, Hicks, for district6.com.
Gang.
You can donate there. Any gift. We've had people give $2 to $1,000 as a part of their gift. So we really will take anything.
Spenders.
It's
I'm right somewhere right there in between. Closer to the two. But nonetheless, it's coming your way.
We're a grassroots campaign. There's just raising money, raising small amounts from a lot of people. We're not taking cop money. We're not taking developer money. We're not taking money from charter schools.
We're not taking cop money.
You
heard?
I like that.
You heard?
So there's a lot of people who are running who have access to those kind of resources, but we don't, because we're not taking, I think that it's not because we don't believe that there are police officers or developers or people who work at charter school special interests that don't believe in the same thing that we do. Is that in order for us to maintain the integrity of the campaign, we want to make sure that there's not any money from special interests in the campaign.
My wife teaches at a charter school.
Yeah, I think that, some charter schools are great. Most of them are not. But I think ultimately what I'm against is just privatizing public education. We just shouldn't do that. Public education should be public education. And if we put more money towards charter schools, then we're taking money away from public schools.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So you can do that. You can sign up to volunteer on the website too, hicksfordistrict6.com. Again, donate, volunteer. If you live in the district, talk to your friends about me. Say my name. And
when everybody's around you.
When everybody's around you. And I think for right now, that's pretty much that everybody can do to get involved. And you got to show up. You got to show up at the polls.
Give me one of them signs. I want to be on the sidewalk.
All right.
I want people to honk
one
at
more,
me.
either or.
Okay.
Jay-Z and Nas.
Jay-Z.
Ooh, favorite rapper all time.
No, not of all time.
We circled all the way back.
If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said Nas, but now he's just corny. He got like 2
Nas is
how's he corny? Oh, edit this out.
He got real corny. I would have said Nas.
We're gonna edit this out.
Let me tell you how much. Let me tell you how much I would have said Nas. When you said the message earlier, I thought you were talking about Nas as the message. Wow. That's how much I can recite.
I was talking about
beginning to end from to back. Exactly, and I got that. But then first I was like, yeah.
Damn, why you think that Nas is corny right now?
This is the thing.
Okay,
this is what happens.
Look, I don't even want to hear why you.
Let me tell. I gotta tell you because you asked me that question first, and I gotta answer it. Right. This is what's happening. At first, you get right. Nas comes out, you're like, wow, right? He's really spitting that knowledge.
Still,
He wants questionable. You want people to get, spin that knowledge, and you're like, wow, this is so good. Jay-Z is doing something completely different than him. If you're looking at rap just as like skill, right? Like who can do X, Y, and Z. These are the skills that you have as a rapper. Jay-Z got Nas beat.
Jay-Z can rap better.
Jay-Z is skill alone. Content, Nas was better. But now what's happening with Nas is that he dug his feet. He didn't evolve. He dug his feet too deep in the Hotep narrative. And now it's like outdated and stale. Here we go. It's not good. It's not good.
That's
good. That's good, but not now. Not now.
Smush.
All right.
Word.
So I gotta.
I respect your opinion.
Yeah, it's what it is. I can go for about music. I can go for.
We can agree to disagree.
You can be wrong. You've been wrong before, and you're gonna be wrong again.
I'm never wrong.
Yeah.
Drop bombs on you. Drop bombs on you.
Kendra, don't do this to me.
Yes. She's gonna start a trend. Niggas is coming up here for your head.
Oh, this nigga's loving every second of it.
The roast.
He's
the Charlie MaSheen roast.
It be your own niggas.
I'm gonna host his roast.
We should do a roast.
Oh my God.
We should do a roast.
My birthday's in September, so y'all can.
Are you a Virgo?
I'm a Libra.
Oh, oof.
And
yo,
my sign
that would
is
be
a scale. If the money don't add up, then the nigga
yo,
is
they're
getting
gonna have to
killed.
get the cane
Allegedly.
to pull me off stage if we doing a roast for Chiz.
You can listen. If you want roasting, you can ask my husband about.
Oh, I like the energy.
All right. So since you running for, a city council in Boston, last question, final question.
Yep.
And then we're gonna bring this in for Landon.
Great.
Who's the best rapper in Boston?
Who's the best rapper in Boston?
All
right, so there's this dude he's been doing it for like a long time, probably over a decade. Yeah. His name is Young Riot.
Okay.
Right, and he's from Dorchester.
Yeah.
And that's the best rapper in the city. He's the best rapper in the city, hands down. He's versatile. Yes. He got the wordplay. Yeah. He can do the fun stuff. He did it when he was on Amalgam Digital, and I really, really love his music. And I think he's really evolving as well. Something that Nas didn't do. Nigga. So that makes him better than Nas.
Facts, nigga.
Kendra Hicks for District 6. Let's fucking go. Kendra Hicks for District 6.
Thank you.
Kendra, I love you. You got my full
me.
support. You got our full support. He don't even live in District 6, but he's going to find a way.
I'm going to get a fake address. We know scammers.
No, don't.
Nah, we going to stuff the ballot box.
You live in District 6.
We all live in District 6.
We all in District 6.
We all live at Chiz's crib.
You know what I'm saying? There's like 8 niggas in my apartment. All right? This is CWTFB Radio. We did something different this week. I don't know how often we're going to do things like this, but I had to do it for my sister, for, somebody who I share, a lot of similar views to, and we share a lot of different views too. But I love this conversation. It was very real, candid, and it needed to be had. So Hicks for District 6. Red Cups and Republicans. We out, baby.
Get on my nerves.